الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا والحمد لله الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد والحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلام عليه عباد الله. قال الله تعالى في الكتاب المبين بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وبعد. At one of the most critical moments in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, at a time in which the Muslims from Mecca were about to embark on their migration from Mecca to Medina after enduring years of persecution, harassment, all types of pain, emotional and physical. The Prophet ﷺ, he spoke to the companions that were migrating. And one might think that in this moment, when the Prophet ﷺ is going to make an announcement, and there is such a major moment in the seerah, in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, him leaving his home of 50 plus years and going to a brand new city, a brand new place, with coordinating and sending off the Meccan Muslims in small groups, sometimes by nightfall, so that they could reach there safely. One would believe that this announcement that the Prophet ﷺ was going to make was going to have something to do with operations or logistics, how to prepare oneself, be ready in case you are found, pack your shields, your swords, something to do with physical welfare and livelihood. And in this moment, when the Prophet ﷺ makes this announcement, the words that he says actually end up being even more important than that. And for us, 1400 years later, this foundation that he set, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with these words lives on universally. What did he say in that moment to those people? He said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرَئٍ مَا نَوَى. He said, every single action that you do is guided and is determined and is ultimately possible only by the intention, the niyyah, that you hold inside of your heart. And then he said, and for every person, they will achieve whatever it is that they intend. Whatever they want, they will accomplish. فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Whoever is about to embark on this hijrah, the disembarkment from Mecca to Medina for good, and whoever is doing this for Allah and His Messenger, فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Then that intention will come to reality. It will come to fruition. They will have done it for the right reason. وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِدُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ إِمْرَأَةٍ يَنْكِحُهَا. Whoever is doing this hijrah so that they have some opportunity, like in business, that they could accomplish. Maybe Medina has some markets that have been untapped. Or there is a woman that will marry you, maybe in Medina, فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. Then you will have also made hijrah, but your hijrah will be a little bit different than the ones who did it for Allah and His Messenger. Now this hadith in the commentary has its own story. And there's a person by the title Muhajir Qais that was given that label as a result of this very proclamation. There was an individual that was joining in the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. But his reason for going and making hijrah primarily was not for Allah and His Messenger. Meaning that it could have been on the list that I'm moving because this is the move that all the Muslims are making and eventually be better for my religion. But his hijrah was based upon this opportunity that he had to marry a woman that he was interested in. They were corresponding, and she said, look, I like you and I'll marry you, but only if you move to my hometown. If you come to Medina, then we'll get married. This brother was very interested, and he said, you know what? You're willing for me, you are a person that I would be willing to move for. And he moved and he married her. Now, this is an interesting hadith because the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us something about every action that we do. He tells us, ﷺ, in this moment where there is imminent danger for the Muslims as they're moving, that the most important thing that you can think about ever in your entire life is why you do what you do. Many people think about what they're doing, some people think about how they're doing, but very rarely do people think about why they are doing. So the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us that before you do anything, you have to imagine the why. And that why will ultimately change the course of your entire life. And in fact, it will change the course of your afterlife. If you don't spend time doing muraqabah and muhasabah, as Imam al-Ghazali says, being aware of what's going on inside of you, and at the end of each day, taking a pencil and a paper, opening up your phone on the notes app, and going through and seeing, was your heart aligned with what your mind knew you should have done? Did I do this because Allah wanted me to do it, or did I do it for some other reason? If a person doesn't have that regimen built into their life, then there could be some unfortunate things that happen to them in their afterlife. May Allah protect us. So the Prophet ﷺ, he makes sure that as everybody embarks on this journey, that they know that they are going to do things for the right reasons. Imam Zarnuji, in his book Ta'lim Muta'allim, he actually has a beautiful couplet that he includes, where he says, كَم مِّنْ عَمَلٍ يَتَصَوَّرُ بِصُورَةِ أَعْمَالِ الدُّنْيَا. He says, how many deeds are there in the world that you see every single day, that they are depicted or painted with the imagery of a deed that looks just like a deed of this life? ثُمَّ يُصِيرُ بِحُسْنِ النِّيَّةِ مِنْ أَعْمَالِ الْآخِرَةِ. But they are transformed into a deed of the next life, of the akhirah. Why? Because the person had a righteous intention. How many times do you see somebody at a grocery store that's holding open the door for somebody? How many times do you see somebody that decides to pay for the person behind them in line? How many times do you see somebody that at work just tells somebody, hey, it's good to see you? Now, those actions, they appear just to be very mundane actions. It's what anyone would do. Hold the door for somebody. Why? Primarily because you don't want to be seen as a rude person. If I don't hold the door open, they're going to think that I'm a jerk, right? If I don't compliment my coworkers, I'm not going to get that promotion because I'm not a team player. If I don't do these things, then there's no benefit for me. But Imam Zarnuji includes this and he says how wasteful it would be and how tragic it would be that you live your entire life doing these mundane actions that look just like everything else, but because your heart was not focused in the moment, you lost out on a great opportunity. And then he finishes the couplet with a scary thought. وَكَمْ مِنْ عَمَلٍ يَتَصَوَّرُ بِصُورَةِ أَعْمَالِ الْآخِرَةِ ثُمَّ يَصِيرُ مِنَ الْأَعْمَالِ الدُّنْيَا بِسُوءِ النِّيَّةِ. And how many deeds are there that we see, that we do, that appear to be deeds of the afterlife? Someone's praying, someone's fasting, someone's giving sadaqah, someone's teaching, someone's giving khutbah, someone's reading, someone's posting good beneficial reminders. How many deeds do we see that appear to be deeds that a person looks like they're doing for the sake of Jannah? But then he says, but they transform because the person has a bad intention. The person is not thinking of Allah, they're thinking of other people. So this topic of niyyah is one that is quite literally make or break. It is the foundation of every Muslim's life. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said that every Muslim should wake up every day and they should refresh and renew their niyyah of shahada with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it is so important, it is so critical. What are the things that you and I do every day? We do them because they mean something. We brush our teeth, we get ready, we make our coffee, we get dressed. Why? Because these things are pillars of success. If we don't think about our intention every day, then we are willingly neglecting a huge pillar of our success with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are three things that this rejuvenated thought about niyyah gives us. Number one is that it ensures that we do not lose out on all the good that we do. I want you guys to think for a moment about all the Ramadan fasts. You know, it's less than 6 months away. May Allah ta'ala give us Ramadan. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Think about all the Ramadan fasts. Think about all the Taraweeh prayers, the raka'at that you've prayed. Think about all the Quran that you've read, all the charity you've given. Think about all the times that you've done something good. Now, if you're like me, most of us, we are imagining in our head that Allah accepts these things from us. And we're hoping that the angel on our right shoulder has a very large book with all these deeds, inshallah, that Allah will accept. And by virtue of His mercy, He will grant us paradise. Say Ameen. But could you imagine doing these deeds your entire life, 40, 50, 60, 70 years after maturity, and then showing up on the Day of Judgment and being very surprised? The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that's in Bukhari and Muslim that on the Day of Judgment, of the first people to enter hellfire, there will be three. The first of them is the one who gave his life or her life for the sake of Allah and died as a shaheed. And when they are asked, what did you do with your life? The person will respond, I gave my life for Allah. Why did you do it? They'll say, to serve Allah, to show Him that I was willing to give my life for His sake. And the angels will respond with the most frightening response. They'll say, kadhabt. You have lied. You did this, it's true. But you did this so that people might say that you were courageous. وَقَدْ قِيلَ. And it was said. Meaning what? You got what you wanted. You did this so that people would talk about how brave you were, and people talked about how brave you were. And then Allah Ta'ala will give the command that because this person lived their life in the most insincere way, with a niyyah that was corrupt, that this person will be dragged into the pit of fire. The next person that comes was a scholar and a reciter of Quran. And they'll be asked the same question, what did you do with your life? I spent my entire life learning and studying and reading. They'll be asked, why did you do this? The person will say, for the sake of God, for the sake of Allah. And they'll be responded to by the angels saying, what? Kadhabt. You're lying. You did this so that people would say that you were a scholar, you were knowledgeable, and you could recite the Quran beautifully. وَقَدْ قِيلَ. And it was said. You got what you wanted. And that person will be taken. And the third is a donor, a philanthropist, someone very charitable, gave all this wealth. And this person, when they're asked what they did, they describe it even more powerfully. They say, I did not see a single cause that was in need except that I gave to it. I did not abandon a single ask. Everyone who asked me, I gave to them. Why did you do this? So that I could support and give from what Allah gave me. You have lied. What do you mean I've lied? You did this so people would say you were generous. That was your reason. Now, I want you to think about this. The angels are not making accusations, right? We're like waiting. When's the person get a chance to defend themselves? No, this is the Day of Judgment. This is the day in which every fact will be made plainly apparent. There is no accusation here. The angels don't know what's in the heart of the person. They're only pronouncing that you're a liar because they've been told by Allah that this person is in fact insincere. But because this person lived their whole life, and in the first case actually gave their life for a reason other than for the sake of Allah, it will have ultimately destroyed them in their akhirah. So niyyah is critical. Why? Because could you imagine every Jumu'ah, every Taraweeh, every fast, every dollar, and on the Day of Judgment we show up and there's nothing there. It's almost like a failure on top of failure. It's salting the wound. We ask Allah to protect us. So keeping your niyyah in check, make sure that every moment that you do something for Allah, you really do it for Allah. This is why some of the scholars would recommend, it's not an obligation, but they would say, before you do any act of worship, take a moment, take just a second, and in your heart, or even some would say with your lips, pronounce your niyyah for the sake of Allah. You don't have to say it loudly. It doesn't have to be a show. But in that moment, remind yourself, why are you doing this? Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, he used to say, check your niyyah 3 times. Check it once before, once in the middle, and make sure you wrap up your good deed with a good niyyah too. Just so you don't let that deed escape from your grasp, not being written by the angel on your right side. What is the second thing that a good niyyah allows us to benefit from? Is all of the other deeds that we do that are seemingly mundane. In between acts of worship, we do all types of things. We go out to eat with friends, we hang out with our family, take care of our spouses and our children, call our parents, right? We spend time with the community. These are all mundane deeds. They're permissible, they're great, and we enjoy our life because of them. They're like spice and seasoning for the daily life. But not all of them are guaranteed to be good. But for the elect few who are able to keep Allah in their heart and in their mind all the time, every single second that they live, every single breath they take can actually be for the sake of Allah. There's a hadith that's also in Bukhari and Muslim, in which there are also three men, three individuals that are traveling and they get trapped. A boulder comes across a cave that they are taking shelter in. And they don't know what to do. So they come to the conclusion that perhaps we can call upon Allah and He will save us. So they tell each other that we should ask Allah by the most sincere thing we've ever done. The most sincere deed we've ever done in our life. Raise your hands and ask Allah, oh Allah, help us by this deed. Now, if you're reading this story, you're imagining maybe one of them has done Hajj, maybe one of them has built a masjid. You're waiting for a very explicit good deed. One that's undeniably ibadah. Like you're like, okay, I memorized the Quran for your sake. Oh Allah, please help us. That's what you're waiting for. But you know what they say? The first one says, oh Allah, one day I came home late from work and I was preparing on the way some food and refreshments, some drinks and refreshments for my family. And by the time that I had gotten home, my parents had already fallen asleep and they went to bed hungry. And the person continues and said, oh Allah, my family was waiting and even my child was at my leg whining, crying a little bit. Baba, give me the food, please give me the drink, give me the milk. And he said, Ya Allah, I stood there all night and I waited at their bedside until they woke up so that maybe in case they woke up in the middle of the night, I could have given them something to drink, or at least the first thing they would see when they awoke was that I was there waiting for them, ready to satiate their hunger. And then they say this beautiful line, فَإِن كُنْتَ تَعْلَمُ إِنِّي فَعَلْتُ ذَلِكَ ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِكَ. Oh Allah, if you know, if it's the truth, that I only did this for your sake, Ya Allah, فَفْرُجْ لَنَا مِنْهَا فُرْجَةً نَرَى مِنْهَا السَّمَاء. Allow us to have a little bit, give us a little bit of this space and save us and allow us to start to benefit and see from the sky. Give us a little bit of daylight. And the boulder moves a little bit. The next person says, oh Allah, I loved this woman in my life so much. And she loved me too. And we were going to get together. And we just decided to forego the marriage. Just live and let love win. And in the moment when we were going to go out and have a romantic evening together and be intimate, she reminded me to remember Allah. And in that moment, I left her presence and I was reminded of you and I decided to do the right thing. Oh Allah, if you know that I only did this for your sake, Ya Allah, then please give us a little bit more daylight. And the boulder moved. And the third person said, oh Allah, I used to have this person that worked for me. And they did some work for me, but they left before I had the chance to pay them. So when they left, I had their money. Currency was in the form of grain. So I took their grain and I invested it, i.e. I planted it, and it multiplied and it grew and it grew and it grew. Later, when the person who worked for me, who I never paid, came back, he said, hey, you owe me some money. And I said, you're right, I do. And I said, all of this is yours. And he said, I didn't do that much work. And he goes, I know you didn't do that much work. You only did this much, but I took it upon myself to invest it on your behalf, and look at what came from it. All of it is yours. Enjoy. I did the right thing. Oh Allah, if you know that I only did this for your sake, Ya Allah, then please give us a little bit of daylight. And the boulder moved completely and they were saved. What's so remarkable about this story and the one before? You almost expect that the deeds that we talk about in the story of the men who are trapped are as illustrious and magnificent as the deeds of the first three men. You're waiting for the shaheed, the mujahid. You're waiting for the alim. You're waiting for the one who gives money. But you know what you find? You find a man who took care of his family and prioritized his parents. You find a man who remembered and made the right decision when his desires were overtaking him. And you find a person that treated someone that did work for him with ethics and with virtue and morality. And Allah Ta'ala saved them by those virtues of those sincere deeds. Why? Because of their niyyah. A good niyyah can take your normal life and make it incredible. Can take the ordinary and make it extraordinary. May Allah Ta'ala grant us that. And the third, and maybe the most amazing of these benefits of a good niyyah, one of the gifts that Allah gives a person who focuses on having a good intention, having ikhlas, is that He gives them the strength to be able to ignore the haters. He gives them the strength to be able to push aside all of the different things that are said about them. And you find this to be the case with none other than the Prophet ﷺ. There was nobody in the history of this world that was more ridiculed, harassed, and really just attacked than the prophets of Allah. And from all of them, during his life, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ experienced very unique and an incredible amount of ridicule and harassment. What did Allah Ta'ala tell him? Allah Ta'ala told him, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَاهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا. He was reminding the Prophet ﷺ, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ. Be patient over what they say. All of these people are coming at you. They're calling you what? A liar. They're calling you a phony. They're saying that you're doing magic on people. They're saying that you're a great speaker. And the only reason that people listen to you is because you give a great speech. And this is hurting the Prophet ﷺ. These are his people, his neighbors. Some of them are even his family members. And they're attacking and physically harassing even some of the people that are following him. And Allah Ta'ala tells him that if you remember the reason why you're doing this in the first place, then none of this will bother you. We have been afflicted as a people with the disease of lo kya kahenge. What will people think? What will people think? We are obsessed. We are so immersed in views on YouTube, in shares on Instagram, retweets. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? This is an indication of a lack of sincerity in the hearts. A person with ikhlas, with a good niyyah, doesn't actually pay attention to other people. If you see the first people who went to hellfire, their problem was that they were obsessed with other people. They did amazing things. Could you imagine fighting in battle? Why? Not to save your own life, not to protect your own family, but so that people could talk about you. You're not even going to live to benefit from it. That's a strange disease to have, subhanAllah. May Allah protect us. Could you imagine spending decades studying, reading, learning? Why? So people could praise you. Or giving all your wealth away, subhanAllah. Why? So people could just talk about you? So if a person has a good niyyah, they are protected from the affliction of caring too much about what people say and think about them. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, during his most difficult moment, the moment of Ta'if, when Aisha asked him, radiallahu anha, al-mu'mineen, Ya Rasulullah, what was the hardest day of your life? He said it was the day of Ta'if. And he made this powerful dua. There's one line in this dua that is just gushing with sincerity, with niyyah, with a good niyyah. What is it? إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ بِكَ غَضِبَ عَلَيَّ فَلَا أُبَالِي. Oh Allah, look at what they've done to me. إِلَيْكَ أَشْكُ دُعْفَ قُوَّتِي وَقِلَّةَ حِيلَتِي وَهَوَانِي عَلَى النَّاسِ. Oh Allah, look at these people, how they're treating me. Bleeding from his head. His sandals are covered in blood. The narration says that his sandal changed colors from brown to red. And what does he say to Allah? As long as you're not upset with me, I don't care. This is the advice he gives to Ibn Abbas. Ya ghulam, ihfad Allah yahfadak. Oh young man, worry about Allah, and Allah will take care of you. And later in the narration, he says what? He says, if people gather together, all of them, the entire world, to harm you or even to benefit you, no one can do anything إِلَّا قَدْ كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ لَكَ, unless Allah has destined it for you. Don't worry about people, man. Live your life for Allah. Don't take the praise too seriously. Don't take the criticism too seriously either. Worry about Allah and let the rest fall where it may. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us ikhlas. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us a good niyyah and to make us people that live for His sake. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. قل قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wal mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. I wanted to give everybody just one piece to take from this khutbah today, and that is that we are aware that good deeds, prayer, fasting, reading Quran, these all require a good niyyah. One of the areas in which Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahimahullah, he said is the most dangerous for people is not ascribing any intention to your everyday life. What I hope that we can do today after this khutbah, where we talked a little bit about having good niyyah with Allah, is that we return back to our life with our family, our friends, our co-workers, our colleagues, and civilization. And we try to implement goodness into everything we do. Ihsan. Why? What did the Prophet ﷺ say about ihsan? It's as if Allah is watching you every moment. You're aware of it. And so why am I good to my wife? Obviously because I love her, but also because this is a gift from Allah. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Why am I good to my children? What can they do for me? Because Allah called them hiba. They're a gift. Why am I good to people? Because Allah Ta'ala told me that you are from the ummah that has been brought out to be the best of all of creation. I have a responsibility from Allah to make sure that every interaction that I live is a good one. It's an amana. And it's something that I'll be asked about on the Day of Judgment. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us people of good niyyah. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us people that are able to live our life with intention, to be present in every interaction. We ask Allah Ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings, forgive us for our negligence, forgive us for our forgetfulness. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give shifa to those who are sick. We ask Allah Ta'ala to forgive those who have passed away. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make it easy for those who are enduring difficulty. We ask Allah Ta'ala to put barakah in our health, in our happiness, in our life, and in our wealth. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقيموا الصلاة